excited about it, obviously, just, to get all of our team together and go to compete against a couple teams for a couple games in Italy and Greece is a great opportunity, especially early on. We're a veteran group, but then we also have 5 newcomers, so it'll be good for us. And then we get 10 extra practices in the summer, which is going to be really good, just more time together. So our team's super excited. I think it's cool too when you have a group of 5 seniors to be able to do something like this. Just an unbelievable opportunity for this trip in their senior year.
What do you want your seniors to be mindful of as you assimilate newcomers in, and vice versa? You have a significant nucleus back again.
They gotta lead, and they gotta, they know our culture by now. So every day they gotta uphold that and lead by example, be able to pull people in, and they gotta do things the right way. So, I'm gonna look to them a lot in terms of leadership and the growth that we've, and all the lessons we've learned the past 2 years to put it into this year, since we do have 4 out of 5, starters back, and then obviously our core group is all back and added some really nice pieces, with our new kids. So they got to be great leaders for us to have success this year.
You think you accomplished in the portal with Letty and Jasmine?
I think that obviously we needed size. That was something that everyone knew we needed, and we got that. Even with Haven and Letty, both they're 6'6", 6'7", legit. And watched them work out the last 2 days. They're big. They're big bodies. They're strong. But they're still young. Haven being a true freshman, and Letty's pretty much a true freshman too, not playing that much. So it's going to take some time. It's not going to be overnight. We saw even last year with Hobby as a 5th year, it took some time, and these guys are, they're not as experienced as her. So it's going to take time with that. But I'm happy with the size we brought in. And then Jazz is, she's played a little bit more at the college level, and she's looked really good in our last 2 workouts. So I think that she'll be able to, make an impact right away for us.
Does this feel like kind of perfect time to do this foreign trip too, with, like you mentioned, the core coming back, and then also just kind of incorporating these newcomers and that opportunity there too? Yeah,
we could have done it last year, and I wanted to push it back and do it this year just because of timing, and every year's so different. I thought this would be the perfect time. What a great opportunity, and kind of something to look forward to for our seniors. I knew we'd have probably a big group coming back, and then I also knew that we were probably going to have quite a few new kids. So I think it's kind of a nice reward for your seniors, and then also a great bonding experience, and also experience playing in a live game for our young kids.
Something you can do, it would seem like Letty or Haven or both would probably need them this year, given their style. Anything you can do to accelerate that, or is that something that's got to be a little more natural?
I think it has to be, you got to be patient with it. It's a process, and it's a lot involved in that process. And not just the basketball piece too. It's getting them, strong enough, and getting them in the weight room, getting them, moving well, getting them in the best condition that they've been in. So there's a lot of those type of things. And then the basketball part comes from there, and then you throw in everything. You got to defend. You got to know the offense. So there's just a lot. So I always, with young kids and freshmen, you can't think it's just going to happen overnight. So we all got to be patient. But obviously we're going to try really, really hard to expedite that and get that process moving as quickly as we can, and because we do need them. And I think we'll have some games early on that last year we were so heavy with really hard games early. I think this year with our schedule, we'll have some opportunity to get them some minutes and get them some game experience.
When we talk about players getting better in off season, what do you and your staff need to do if what you're bringing in allows you to have a deeper bench than maybe you ever had here, and just being conscientious of substitute patterns and making sure your core is good after that last media timeout? We have gas in tank.
Yeah, and that's, you guys have followed us. I think that's been the thing. We haven't had that depth. We've had to rely and play, our main guys heavy minutes. So that was where I feel I'm looking at our team. I'm like, every single person is capable of playing, and they're all talented enough. So it's going to be a better feeling for me and for our staff. But I got to also utilize, like I just talked about, the big kids, utilize some of these early games to be able to get them in so we can earn, and I can earn that trust early in games. But then it's always a process and practice of how you're practicing, how you're improving. But I got to utilize the depth that we do have. They got to do their job of getting prepared. But, with Gretchen and Corey also coming back, I have a lot of confidence in them. And then with Jasmine, I think that she'll be able to progress pretty quickly.
Was there a thought when you got here, like having a core for 3 years of your players here? Like now you get to live that out, right? Some of your players a third year. Like,
Yeah.
Was that a thought back then?
I
And
mean,
to live it out now. What does
yeah,
that mean?
you hope that, right? But in this day and age, you never know. I mean, if you can get a kid for a year, I feel like it's a win. So to be able to have that core group that, again, has chosen to stay and believes in the culture and believes in one another is really probably the thing I'm most proud of. And all those guys, deciding to come back and not transfer. I mean, that means a lot about what we're building. It means a lot about, the relationships and, again, the culture that we're putting in place here. So I think it's special, especially nowadays. And it's up to us to utilize that and does that experience and does that continuity, is it going to pay off for us? That's the question. And that's on them to take the lessons learned and to put them into action, and so we can have a great year.
When you maybe look at the non-conference schedule, kind of putting it together, obviously you still haven't finished the touch to that, but what does that kind of look like for your team, do you feel like?
Yeah, last year, I think we scheduled right. I think we had some bad, maybe luck with some injuries at certain times, but I also think maybe it was a little too hard for that year. So I think we've dialed it back a little bit, and our conference, we're going to have all the opportunity we need for high, net games and top 25 games, especially with the new 4 coming in. So I really looked at that, and then maybe scaled back a little bit with playing as many, high-level Power 5 teams. But still, we want to play good competition. We don't want to go and blow everyone out. That's not going to make us better either. So trying to find that fine line in between.
Has that been sort of an adjustment for you too? Because then when you were at Dayton, obviously you were wanting to schedule as many high-level games as you possibly could.
Yeah, it's been completely opposite. And again, I really took into play with the new league. And I mean, USC and UCLA are going to be top 5 teams in the country. So that's 2 more than Washington and Oregon. Obviously, they all reloaded, and they're going to be really good. So our league is so good. We're going to get those opportunities. So maybe 1 or 2, really good games in the non-conference. And I also thought last year, compared to the first year, even though the first year we didn't play as many good teams, I thought we were able to develop confidence. And I thought last year our confidence kind of went up and down because we could never really get into a rhythm. And again, whatever that may be. So I kind of, took the last 2 years and looked at it, and that's how we went about our schedule this year.
For somebody that has admitted to not liking the coaching hiring process in the offseason, you've been able to steal 2 assistant coaches from power conferences. Just is the sell easier than maybe even you anticipated it would be for people to want to come here?
Yeah, it's been, with getting Britt, again, I didn't know her at all, and I didn't know Liza at all. I just had similar people that had, spoke about them, and, I think it does, whatever it does mean something, I think, about our program when we can get, especially like a Brittany, who was such an established veteran coach that had a really good job and was competing for national championships and could have went anywhere or could have got some head jobs. So I think that was really spoke a lot about what we're trying to build here. And then even with Liza coming from Tennessee, she had some different things going, but she has watched our program. Being from Illinois, she's watched and followed our program, has really enjoyed how we've done stuff, and she's had some of her mentors spoke really highly of us too. So it's just great to have people that are, come from high levels, are used to winning, are used to trying to recruit the best players in the country. And I think she's going to be really great as well. She has great, just rapport with our players already in a couple days. And she's a really hard worker. And I love that she's from our home state. So it's always good to bring someone home.
Obviously, the rosters are year to year, right? You added 2 sophomores really to pair with you. Like, how do you feel like you guys have set up for kind of life after this core group?
Yeah, I thought that was really important. Like when we got, we got Letty, and then we got Jazz, and we got Letty. Having 3 years is really, really, really important. So that made me happy because that can hopefully set us up. We believe in our culture to keep people here and to get them better. Plus now with Gretchen, you know, Corey, Shay, them getting better, and then, you know, we got to bring in a top 25 class. We know that we're on really good kids, but I think that was more important to bring in younger kids and bring in another grad student for us, just for the future.
How do you feel like that 25? You talked about that in the last year. How do you feel like that's going in the early stages here?
You know what? Recruiting's, you know, crazy, and it's so up and down, but I feel really good about it. I mean, right now I feel really good about it. Obviously we still haven't had a commitment, but I think we're in a really good place with a lot of high level kids. And I love the kids in that class. It's actually, you know, we kind of are, you know, each kid brings something that we really, really need. So if we can get it done and get a few of them, hopefully we can get an early commitment to kind of get it all rolling. But I like where we're at right now, but you just never know. These things, they go down to the very wire with all these recruiting battles, but we got to win some.
Speaking of high-level players, Barry Wallace, bringing her on campus, what can that do to having the summer experience and getting her in some games for her development?
Yeah, you know, Barry's going to be an important piece for us as well. Obviously, she's comes in a super talented player, and even in 2 days, just how quickly she picks up stuff. High IQ. She's a really good basketball player, but there's always that learning curve. So again, I think it's like all those kids that I talked about. I think the Italy trip will be good too. Get her into a game setting. Let's see how she just plays. Let's see how she can, you know, defend. And then obviously going into our non-conference schedule, trying to get her, you know, and a lot of those new guys as much experience as they can early. And I got to do that, and I have to make myself do that. Even when there may be some times where it may not look perfect, I got to be very intentional with that.
Since they're in season, what kind of eye do you keep on the WNBA? What kind of influence or impact does it have on coaching or how the style of play? Is there trickle down there?
Yeah, I mean, as a basketball player or a coach, like I'm always watching WNBA, NBA, seeing what they're doing, you know, studying the game, seeing if there's some things that we can, you know, take from them and put into our system. And I think right now, especially with the WNBA, I think, you know, more players now are watching it and more coaches are watching it. So it's great. Again, the women's game is in a really good spot. But no, I'm constantly, anywhere that I can get new ideas or that's basketball, everyone steals from everyone else. So yeah. I'm always trying to get ahead.
Noticing any trends or things going on this year?
I mean, it's the same as in the NBA, you know. A lot of people are all playing, you know, the women's side's a little bit different. They're still a true 5 player, but, you know, it's moving more towards having everyone be more versatile and you know, be multi-dimensional, and even bigs. You know, Asia Wilson can shoot it and can put on the floor and drive, and so that's where we want our players to be. We want to be able to, you know, you see KB's progression in terms of her ability from the outside. You saw Hobby, you know, last year. We want to be able to have 1 through 5 that can stretch the floor in an ideal situation, and that's where even I think Bryn comes into play. You know, she's healthy right now and feeling good and shooting the ball really well. We may even play her at some 5 more this year. So now we can really stretch the floor and kind of see what problems that might present as well.
Your game's no different than anybody else's, whether it's football or the men's side. You're recruiting against the portal, you know, trying to keep kids out of the portal. So the question is, how did you get McIver, Jen, KB, and Dell all back and kind of sold on everything and have them really not even looking at it?
You know, I think all that comes down to, it doesn't come down to the end of the season, right, where I'm begging them. Like we didn't have those talks. Like they came, they had thought about it all, and they made the decision. So I think that comes from just sustained relationships and culture and how we go about, you know, what we're building here and how we treat our players and the relationships they have amongst their teammates and coaches. Where they really believe in what we're doing, and especially after, you know, a season of ups and downs, they believe in it still, and they believe how we finish. They saw what we can do this year, and they still have that, you know, that great pride in being at Illinois, and that means something. So it wasn't something where, you know, I'm sitting there finding all these ways to get them to stay. I think you do that by your everyday actions.
Or could Alder Kendall's evolution is kind of a stretch forward impact what you were able to look for from the 5 and the 4?
Yeah, I mean, it was last year. I mean, her improvement was just amazing. You know, we look at the numbers, and like her, she went from 0%, I think, from 3 to 41%, and You know, I mean, it was unbelievable, and that's where again we believe in our development process, but then you got to have a kid that believes in it too, and that's going to go in there and work every day. So now with feeling really comfortable, because last year at this time we were all talking, I didn't really know, could we play Hobby and KB, you know, together at the same time? How's KB going to defend a 4? How's she going to build, you know, offensively? And I mean, she was just unbelievable. She defended a 4 at a higher rate than I probably thought she could. She really figured that out. And then her ability to stretch the floor, her ability to pass, all those things, I mean, just were on an elite level all year and just continue to get better and really flourished in that last month. So now you know, okay, she can play the 4. Now we can go out and just get a true 5 player with great size and the ability to be her presence down low defensively. And obviously the offense will come, but being that rim protector. So it really helped us a lot, gave us a little bit more flexibility, because you still know KB can play 5 at a great level. So, and that's where I'm thinking even, you know, how can we get Bryn out there more? Bryn's tall, Bryn's 6'3", and I think she grew. So it's like we need to utilize her more and keep her healthy so she can be the player that I know she can be.
One thing about Jasmine, you guys got here, she was one of the few uncommitted in the state. You guys certainly went after her, but what's to say about your program for the second time around, that maybe the pitch is better and the reality to come home exists?
Yeah, it's funny because Jazz, I mean, we had recruited hard when we were at Dayton, so we had an established relationship, and that's really why she gave us a look when we came here, because she had never even considered Illinois. And then when we came here, you know, we already had that, so we got them down here, and I mean, it was, you know, we were in our final couple. You know, and sometimes people have to do things and then to understand what they want. And I said I've always been good at getting kids a second time. I don't know if that makes me a good or bad recruiter, but we've gotten kids a second time a lot. And so, you know, I think the winning part helped in showing that, you know, she could have success here too in her home state. But I could not be more happy that she's here with us. And you know, I had to wait a year, but I'm glad she's here.
From a health standpoint, is everybody good? And you've mentioned Bryn. I mean, can you see the confidence back in her now that she's healthy?
It's funny because I've said it to her the last couple of days. I'm like, Bryn, like you just got this like swag about you, you got this confidence, you got this smile about you. And she's in a really good place. She feels good. She's been able to, you know, her wrist is good. And I think she just has a really fresh like motivation because it's her senior year and she's really excited. I just had an individual meeting with her and there's just an excitement to her. It's just great, and she's playing, you know, really well. And so yeah, I think that, you know, she's in a really good place, and we've all seen what she's capable of doing. We know what she can do, and I'm excited for her this year. I think she's going to have a really great year.
Health-wise, though, you guys all?
Health-wise, you know, we have a couple things where people are like some nagging things from some things that we've had right after season, that they're just working their way back. Nothing, knock on wood, nothing major, but just kind of being very cautious with a few people to bring them back slowly.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you.